Good afternoon, everyone. I am California State Treasurer Fiona Ma, and I would like to welcome you to the CalABLE webinar series. As State Treasurer, I believe that CalABLE is an excellent financial tool for Californians with disabilities. Now, eligible individuals on means-tested benefit programs can save up to $100,000 without having their benefits impacted. CalABLE is a game changer, providing people with disabilities a low-cost, tax-advantage way to save and invest for a better financial future. And there's more exciting news. With the new ABLE Age Adjustment Act, individuals whose disability began before age 46 may also qualify to open an account. Plus, for 2026, the annual contribution limit is $20,000, giving families and individuals even greater flexibility to save. I am committed to promoting this program and for doing all that I can to continue to help people with disabilities strengthen their financial position to achieve a better life experience. Thank you for joining us today and for your continued support of the CalABLE program. Now, I would like to turn things over to the CalABLE team to begin today's webinar. Good afternoon.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Thomas Martin. I'm the Executive Director of CalABLE. I am also a CalABLE account holder myself, and I manage both of my kids' CalABLE accounts. So I got three between me. As a user of CalABLE, I can tell you how important it is for people with disabilities, for their long-term planning, for the day-to-day spending, anything that you need for your as part of your financial future. CalABLE really should be part of it. So, really excited to have so many people, hundreds of people joining our webinar today to learn more about some of the basics. So the goal today is to really walk through as many things about CalABLE as we can to really explain in detail whether you've never heard of CalABLE before or you maybe even already have a CalABLE account, but you're just hoping to learn a little bit more mechanics on how things work, or what you can spend it on, or all of those questions that we get asked all the time. The goal is to try to answer as many of those questions today as possible. As Maria had mentioned at the top, you can ask questions in the Q&A, and we'll get through as many as we can. But the goal is that we can get through a lot of that material as part of the presentation today. So with that, before getting too far ahead of ourselves, let's turn it over to a couple of polls.
To learn more about who is joining us today, we are going to be launching a couple of polls throughout the presentation. So you'll see the first question popping up on your screen in just a second. This question is about who you are. Please select the option that best describes you. Okay, it looks like we have a mix of participants today. Account holders and authorized legal representative are the vast majority, followed by, a potential participant, service provider, and a parent. So thank you for being here today. Next, we have another question. This one is quick. Have you attended to a webinar before? Yes or no are the options for this one. All right, I'm gonna show or share the results now. Seems like 55% of you have not attended to a webinar before. So for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome. We are so glad you're here. And for those who are attended to our webinar in the past, thank you for coming back and continuing this learning journey with us and with CalABLE. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing this. Thank you all for participating, and with that, I'm gonna hand it back over to Thomas.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you for responding to the poll. Good to see quite a few people who've never been to one of these before. So hopefully you learn a lot. And if you have an open account already, hopefully you do, and we'll tell you how to do that as we get towards the end. So, first thing we want to do is, what is CalABLE. What exactly is CalABLE? So, CalABLE is a savings program. It's a savings and investment program for people with disabilities. So it allows people to open one of these CalABLE accounts. They can put money in and save it for the future, for whatever looking to save for, while protecting access to benefits in the process and with some tax advantage too. So we'll be walking through some of those details as we go along, but that's it in a nutshell. And then so a bit more about CalABLE. So this is a state program. So I'm a state worker. Maria's a state worker. This is a state program run in as part of the treasurer's office. So the state treasurer Fiona Ma, who you saw at the beginning, she's the chair of the CalABLE board. Um, right now we have, and this is very exciting because this just happened yesterday, but we reached $250 million in assets. So, our program is continuing to grow. We have more than 17,000 people with accounts, with CalABLE accounts right now. So we are growing and growing and growing. And we're hoping that the folks on here not only open accounts if you haven't already, but also tell others about the program as well so they know all the benefits. Once you learn them all in this webinar, hopefully you can share them with everyone else. And it's open to anyone with an eligible disability that began before age 46. So we'll get into a little bit more detail about eligibility in a bit. So key benefits of CalABLE. CalABLE helps you save. It helps you save for whatever you need to save for. You have the opportunity to grow using the different investment options, and you can spend on qualified expenses whenever you need to. And we'll walk through all of those aspects as we go along. So, for the purposes of this webinar, we wanted to think about what the top questions that we hear, the top things that I think a lot of attendees would like to know. So these are the 10 questions we're going to walk through and then some. So one, why have a CalABLE account? That should be evident hopefully throughout this entire thing, but we'll start with that. Then we're going to talk about eligibility. Who is eligible? How much can you save? What are your options to save and invest? What can you spend your money on? How does CalABLE work with benefits? How does it protect access to benefits? What happens when the account holder passes away? How do you open an account? Most important question here. Why should you choose CalABLE, and how can you help get the word out? How can you help the program grow? So let's start with the first one. Why have a CalABLE account? Again, hopefully the entire presentation is kind of about that. But just in a brief nutshell, and all of this we will go through in more detail as we go along. One, why would you have a CalABLE account? One is having a disability can be expensive. I can tell you from personal experience. Having a disability can be expensive in terms of, if you need adaptive technology or specialty diets or, healthcare, just direct healthcare costs, medications. If you need to modify your living arrangement, any of those things, those can all be extremely expensive. And in addition, having a disability can, in many cases, make it more difficult to work. It can impact earnings. So one, why would you have a CalABLE account? Because having a disability can be expensive and you want to be able to plan around that. Another is that you want to protect benefits. If for those who receive benefits, if you receive benefits, you might want to consider a CalABLE account because we can help protect those benefits in the process. We'll walk through that. And it can be very hard to save money while getting access to many benefits, but CalABLE is a way to help with that. And also last, just simply because you want to plan and save and have a lifetime of opportunity and independence and growth and all those great things. So that's why you want CalABLE in a nutshell, but we're going to go through all those details as we go along. So, question we get asked a lot, can I have a CalABLE account? Who is eligible? What is the eligibility criteria for a CalABLE account? So, some things to keep in mind. There's the two main things to keep in mind. One is you have to have an eligible disability. And that can mean one of two things. One, if you're eligible for SSI or SSDI, so that's supplemental security income or Social Security Disability Insurance. Those are both through the Social Security Administration. If you're eligible for one or the other, then you already know that you have an eligible disability. Um, the other category is if you're self-certifying, right? So for example, I don't receive SSI or SSDI. Neither do I of my kids, but we can still have CalABLE accounts because we have eligible disabilities. I'm autistic, and autism is one of the disabilities that's eligible for a CalABLE account. So, for more information on that, you'll want to go to our website. It's calable.ca.gov/eligibility. If you go there, there's a link in the chat. If you go there, you'll get a little bit more detail. You can see the federal list that we generally point to for folks looking to learn more and looking to see if they're eligible. And then the other criteria to keep in mind. So one is you have to have an eligible disability. The other is that the disability has to have begun before the age of 46. And that's what the treasurer mentioned at the top. Very exciting. But until this year, you had to have a disability that began before age 26, which is very limiting. But starting this year, now if you have a disability that began before age 46, now you can have an account. So it doesn't matter how old you are today. Your current age does not matter. What matters is when the disability began. So, for example, my disability started at birth, so it doesn't matter how old I am today. I would be eligible because I have an eligible disability, and it started at birth. So those are the main things to keep in mind for who is eligible. So again, you can go to our eligibility page for a little more detail, but that's what we want to keep in mind. So next question, how much can I save? I'm already seeing questions in the Q&A about this right now. Some good news, this actually increased a little bit this year. So there's a couple of numbers to keep in mind. First number to keep in mind is how much can you contribute within a calendar year? So this increased for this year. So as of 2026, you can contribute up to $20,000 in this calendar year into a CalABLE account. So that's the annual limit. And there's one exception to that I'll get into in a bit. But that's the standard annual limit is $20,000. Over multiple years, you can save up to $100,000 if you are an SSI recipient and want to protect your SSI eligibility. Um, and if you don't receive SSI, you can save up to $529,000 and still keep your continue to grow up to that point. And if you have more than 529,000, you can't contribute more, although you can continue to earn in your account. So again, $20,000 for this calendar year, $100,000 total for SSI recipients, and $529,000 total for people who do not receive SSI. And I'll get back to SSI in a bit, but those are the main numbers to keep in mind. There is one exception to that, which is able to work. So for some individuals, if someone is working and their employer doesn't pay into a retirement plan in that calendar year, they can contribute up to an additional $15,650. So meaning if I'm working and my employer doesn't pay into my retirement, doesn't have a retirement plan for me, I could potentially save up to $35,650 total. There's a bit more information on our website for able to work because it is a calculation. The amount above the standard $20,000 limit, meaning that extra $15,650, that does need to come from your income, meaning you have to have earned that much money in order to contribute that much. If you earn less, you would be able to contribute a lesser amount. But again, there's a little bit more detail on our website. So that's how much money you can save. How do you put money into the account? We'll get into a little bit more detail on this as we go along. But the main categories to keep in mind. One is you can do electronic contributions. So either one-time or recurring contributions into an account. So, I connect my credit union account to my CalABLE account, and I can make one time, whenever I feel it's appropriate, I can contribute money into the account. I can also set up like a monthly contribution, for example, or bi-monthly, whatever, there's some options you can pick and choose from. Another option is direct deposit. So if someone's working, or in particular, if someone is receiving Social Security payments, like through SSI, you can direct deposit funds straight into your CalABLE account. That's a very, very popular option to make sure the money is always protected and going straight into the account. You can also do a 529 rollover. And so, for those who don't know, Section 529 refers to college savings plans. For example, we have ScholarShare in the California Treasurer's Office, and it's amazing. But you can roll over money from one of those college savings plans into a CalABLE account. And that can be helpful, for example, if a child has a disability that either is identified early or has a later onset, something like that, and they want to put the money to a CalABLE account instead, that could be a good option. And then the last option would be to contribute by check. This method's a little bit slower, so it takes a couple more days to route through the mail and that sort of thing. But it is an option, and there's more information on our website on how to contribute by check. And there's a link in the chat that you can look at for more information on the different contribution options. And then another option, and I'm not going to get into too much detail here because Daniel, our special guest from Vestwell, is going to walk through it in a bit. But you could also do gift contributions. So anyone can gift money to any CalABLE account holder. So, but again, we'll get to more detail on that. And there's a link in the chat to the gifting page. Okay, so and one example that we do like to point to for gifting. Again, we'll get into more detail, but one example that I really love, it's a great example, is from Hector, who's one of our account holders. And so this is a quote from him. So he said, "For my birthday, I asked folks, this is my able account, you can make a donation, and I ended up getting enough money to put down a down payment for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom mobile home." So, imagine for someone who's receiving SSI, for example, we there's limits on how much money you can have with SSI. There's limits on how much money you can make with SSI, and SSI payments they're not that great. They're not that high. Even still, you could save money for something significant like down payment on a mobile home through gifts from other individuals. So it's a great benefit for the program. And again, Daniel will talk a little bit more how the gifting page works. Okay, so that's how much money you can save. That's how you put the money in. So you got the money in. What are your options from there? What do you do with what are your savings and investment options from once the money's in the account? So some great options are available. There are 8 different investment portfolios you can pick and choose from. And we'll show you a screenshot in just a bit of what that looks like. But 8 different options, pick and choose from. You can mix and match whatever is going to be best for you. And then over time, just as with any other investment or savings option, you do have the opportunity to be able to build through compound earnings. So, over time, you have the opportunity for it to really grow in the long run. We do have fees, but we do keep the fees as low as we can. We are a state program. We want to make this program accessible to folks. So the fees right now, it's $30 per year is the annual fee, and that's broken into quarterly payments, plus a small percentage of what you invest in the account. So a bit more information on our website, in our program disclosure statement. That you can take a look at. But again, we do try to keep the fees both competitive and as low as we can. And something that's great about it, if we can go back just one last thing on that slide is anything you earn in the account from the different investment options are tax-free, both state and federal taxes, as long as you use the account for qualified expenses. I'll get into that, what those qualified expenses are in a bit for those who don't know. But again, that's a great savings opportunity. It's hard to beat tax-free, in addition to having some really great options for you to pick and choose from. So taking a look at those options. So again, we have 8 different investment options. Pick and choose whatever you like. Like I use multiple options at once. It's really up to you what you think is appropriate. You can see the option at the top is FDIC insured portfolio. We also call it the cash option. That one is that has a set investment, a set interest rate. I should say semi-set because it can adjust, but there's an interest rate attached to that. And then there's seven other portfolios that are a mix of stocks and bonds. Um, and you can kind of pick and choose what's will look best for you. And I'll get to a little bit more detail on how you can think about choosing in just a bit. Um, one ambassador, one of our ambassadors, Otto, who's amazing, he gave us this quote that we like to use when talking about thinking about the investment options. So Otto says, "I'm still very young. That is the perfect time to start investing. CalABLE has given me that tool to be able to invest in my future, just like everyone else." And that's the thing for a lot of folks receiving benefits who are normally limited, unable to save money while keeping those benefits intact. CalABLE offers a really unique opportunity to be able to actually not only just save that money, but invest the money how you see fit. Okay, and then I'll hand it over to Maria because we have another poll for you.
Yep. Thank you, Thomas. And since we have just kicked off a brand new year, it is the perfect time to think about, your goals. So let's jump into the next question for you. And this one is, what are your goals for your CalABLE account this year? Thank you for your responses. It is great to see the goals you're setting as we start the new year. Many of you are focusing on savings for the future, which is great. Some of you have a mix of goals. Some of you are using your account or are planning on using your account for day-to-day expenses. Those are all great goals for 2026. Thank you for sharing that. And with that, I am going to hand it back to Thomas, who will be giving you some examples on how you can support the plans you're setting for 2026.
Yeah, thank you. All right, thank you for answering that poll. Very, very helpful. Very good to see what people are planning for. So, I will caveat this by saying I'm not a financial advisor, so we can't give direct financial advice on, where you should put money or anything like that. What I can do, however, is kind of give you some general information about what kind of things you want to think about when you're selecting the portfolios, when you're thinking about investment options, and a little bit more detail on those. So, first thing I'll say is in the chat is a link to the investment options page that we have available. In there's also, if you go to that page, there's also a link to historical performance if you want to kind of compare and see what's happened over the past month or past 3 months or year. There's a couple different time frames to look at just to give you a sense of how portfolios operate. As long as you always want to keep in mind that past performance doesn't promise future performance. It's the standard caveat for investments. But again, when you're thinking about what you want to save for, you really want to keep in mind what is your timeline? What are you hoping to plan for? When are you hoping to get there? Are you someone like me who's thinking of, I'm saving for my own account. I'm saving kind of like for retirement, like as another retirement plan, kind of. For my kids, my target is when they turn 18. So you want to kind of think about that. What is your timeline? What are you saving for? Are you trying to protect benefits or are you not worried about benefits? These are all different things you want to keep in mind when thinking about how to save. So some scenarios that you might be thinking of. So scenario one is you're saving money for the long term, kind of like me. I'm looking to save for retirement. So you can consider really a lot of the options. You can kind of mix and match and see what makes sense. You can look at historical performance, and choose from there. You can read up a little bit more detail on the program disclosure, whatever you're looking for. But some of them are a little bit riskier, some of them a little bit less risky. So you want to keep that in mind when selecting. Another scenario is you're really looking at more of day to day, which is perfectly fine. You can use that account for long term or for day to day. If you're more in that camp and you're really thinking about how do I protect SSI eligibility, how do I just ensure spending today, you want to either, limit risk, that sort of thing. You could look at, for example, the FDIC insured, or we also call it cash portfolio. Again, this is similar to a savings account in that there's an interest rate. It's FDIC insured, just like you might see it like a bank account or credit union account, something like that. So that could be a really good option if you're more concerned about just keeping I don't know, greater stability, something like that. If you're more worried about short-term market changes, or maybe you're looking at a mix. You want to be able to plan for the long term and pay for expenses as you go along. Well, that could be a great opportunity to spread across multiple portfolios. Maybe you want some in the FDIC insured portfolio for, a little bit less, variance, a little less volatility, but then some other money set aside in some of the riskier portfolios, that might have more opportunity to grow. So you can kind of pick and choose. Really, it's kind of a matter of what you're looking for. And so, I can't give you direct advice. Those are some things you'd want to keep in mind. What is your level of risk tolerance? What are you planning for and how long out is that goal? Those are some things you'd want to keep in mind. And for a bit more information on resources, if we can go to the next slide, we have a few links for you, and these are dropped in our chat as well, so folks can take a look. So again, we have a website that's just we have a page on our website that's just about the investment options and how to kind of take a look at them, how to think about them. There's another page that's on historical performance that can let you both shows what the interest rate is for that cash option for the FDIC insured option, but also the performance on the other portfolios, so you can see how that's gone over time. And again, we have the program disclosure booklet that has a lot more detail for those who really want to get into the weeds on what the underlying funds are and all that stuff. You've got it. You can take a look at our program disclosure booklet and take and you can get more detail on that. So again, can't give direct advice. If you call the call center, they will also not be able to give you direct advice, but we can give some general things to think about and point you in the right direction. Okay, so what can you spend your money on, right? So you put the money in the account. You've picked the different investment options. What are you going to use the money for? What are those qualified expenses? So let's do another poll, and then we'll talk a bit more about qualified expenses. So bring Maria back.
Hello, hi. Yeah, so thank you, Thomas. We would like to know, and this is our last question for you today. We would love to know, what are you saving for? Select all that apply. Are you saving for, education? You may be saving for your first home, transportation, or maybe you have a longer term goal like retirement. Take a moment to respond this question. All right, these are great responses, everyone. Thank you all for sharing your answers. It is clear that we have a wide range of goals here in our audience. A lot of you are saving for your first home, following for retirement, and then some of you are also saving for technology and equipment, education. So all of these are qualified expenses that you could use your CalABLE account for. So I hope many of you get that first home and become a homeowner. Is not only an exciting milestone to have, but also, a powerful motivation to stay committed to your savings and your financial planning. Now I'm gonna stop sharing the results and hand things back to Thomas.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering that. There was a broad, there's quite a bit of variety in the answers we got to that. And none of those were trick things. Those are all things that would very likely be appropriate expenses. So what can you spend the money on? Um, the main rule of thumb is this first sentence at the top. Any expense that helps the account holder maintain or improve their health, independence, or quality of life. Those are the three main categories you want to think of. Does it benefit the person with disabilities, health, independence, or quality of life? If so, it's almost certainly going to be an appropriate expenditure. So some examples of that are, as you can see on the screen, it can be education, housing, transportation, food, vocational training, legal fees. There's and of course health related expensive and assistive adaptive technology, a pretty broad range of things. Again, you want to keep in mind who is benefiting. Does it benefit the health, independence, or quality of life of the account holder, of the person with a disability? If so, you're probably good. You just want to keep in mind that basic rule. Um, and you can access it whenever you need to. So I know when we talk about this, some people think about like other longer term savings accounts or Roth IRAs or something like that, where you might be locked in for a certain amount of time or until a certain age, um, and or there might be a penalty for withdrawing. There is nothing like that with a CalABLE account. You access the money when you need to. Just make sure you're using it for a qualified expense, and you're good to go. So for me personally, it gives me a lot of comfort because I know that I can save long term for retirement, for a first house, wherever those really big expenses are. But also, if there were an emergency, if something came up, if I just wanted to buy a Nintendo Switch or something, I don't know, I could access that money when I need to, as long as I'm using it for a qualified expense. Now, one thing I will point out, as you can see on the screen, there's an asterisk for housing. Um, for someone receiving SSI, you do need to make sure that that your housing related expenses are made in the same month they're withdrawn from the account. And I apologize. This is a Social Security rule and it's only for SSI recipients. But if you take money, for example, to pay for rent out of your CalABLE account, let's say you move it into a separate bank account so you can write a check to your landlord, you can do that. That's fine, but you'll need to make sure it's all within the same calendar month. If you withdraw it in January, but you don't pay your rent until February, that can potentially affect your resources, your resource limit with Social Security. So just something to keep in mind. It's the caveat. It's only for SSI recipients. It's only for housing related expenses. But otherwise, there's a lot more flexibility on how you can spend that money. Okay, and then so an example of what we're talking about. This is Ashley. So her son has a disability. He's a CalABLE account holder. As you can see from the photo, he is in a wheelchair. And the quote from her is this: "We sold our old car and used the money in our CalABLE account to have extra money to buy a bigger, nicer car, and it fits his wheelchair amazingly." So you want to think about this. So this is her son. Her son is a minor. Her son does not drive, and obviously so spending money to buy a new vehicle, a larger vehicle, the vehicle is in her name. Her son is not the only person who benefits from having this bigger, nicer car. But that's okay because he benefited from it. This was supporting his disability. So it doesn't matter that other people benefit from it. It doesn't matter that it might be in someone else's name, especially if he can't own a car himself. That does not matter. What matters is he benefiting from this? And the answer is clearly yes. So that's how you want to think about it. Is it benefiting for his health, his independence, his quality of life? Inarguably, this benefits all three of those categories. So, and it only needs to benefit one. Okay, so how do you access the money, right? So okay, that's what you can spend it on. Hopefully that adds some clarity. And one more thing I'll mention on what you can spend it on. We, CalABLE, we do not vet or approve or reject or anything on the expenses that you make. So we're telling you what the rules are, and so it's kind of on you to follow the rules. The reason we tell you this is because you'll want to know the rules in case, for example, you're ever audited by the IRS as far as part of a tax audit. We haven't heard of a CalABLE account holder being audited, so we don't I don't know that's a major concern to have, but you do need to make sure you can say, yeah, I spent this, I spent the money from the CalABLE account on qualified expenses. Just make sure you can be able to say that and you're good to go. So how do you spend it? Couple of options. How do you actually access the money? One is you can transfer the money. I already mentioned before you can transfer money into the account. You can also transfer money out of the account. You can transfer it to a credit union account or bank account and pay for something that way. We have a prepaid card. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but we'll get into it a little bit later. We have a prepaid card you can have. You can withdraw cash. This is a new thing. It's very exciting. I'll talk about that in a bit. You can withdraw cash using the prepaid card, or you can have a check made and mailed to you. So again, this is a bit slower, but this is helpful. If you need a paper check, like if you need to do a bill pay to a landlord or something, you can have a check mailed out to that person. So you just have to request it. And then and like I mentioned, we have a prepaid card. So there's a bit of info here, but I'm gonna actually leave this to Daniel to talk a little bit more detail about the prepaid card and some of the exciting things about it. Okay, so. How does CalABLE protect your benefits? This is probably the most important thing about CalABLE. You don't have to receive benefits to have a CalABLE account, but if you do, if you receive some other public benefit, this is where CalABLE really kicks in. This is the biggest thing that CalABLE has to offer. So for those who don't know, either because you haven't had to deal with it, or maybe you're planning for like a child who it doesn't receive a lot of benefits yet, but will when they're an adult. For those who don't know, benefits programs, in particular SSI, they have limits on how much money you can make and how much money you can have. So looking specifically at how much money you can have, your assets. If you're an SSI recipient, normally you can't have more than $2,000 to your name. That's it. That is extremely limiting. I want to plan for my kids for when they're adults. I want them to be able to live alone in an apartment if they can. I want them to be able to have money saved for an emergency, whatever it might be. $2,000 does not do that. You can't save or plan for much of anything with only $2,000. So for decades, that was the standard limit for an SSI recipient. But now that we have CalABLE accounts, you can have up to $100,000 in a CalABLE account and protect your access to SSI. So that's a separate limit by law for ABLE accounts like CalABLE, meaning you can have $100,000 in a CalABLE account and you can still have $2,000 somewhere else if you need to, and still get your SSI benefits coming in. So that applies to any benefits program, any state, local, or federal benefits program. Those standard asset limits do not apply. In SSI's case, it's the limit. The limit for CalABLE is $100,000. For other programs, the limit's the full $529,000. So really, really helpful thing about it. So if someone's receiving SSI or CalFresh food stamps, SNAP benefits, receiving Section 8, receiving Medi-Cal, those all have asset limits, depending on the category you fit in. And so those are things to think about. But if you have a CalABLE account, that'll help protect your eligibility. Okay, and then so I mentioned before, there's income and there's assets, and I'll just briefly go through this. If folks have questions, you can ask it in the Q&A. But the difference between the two, income is how much money you make, how much money is coming in. So that's mainly from having a job. It can, if you're an SSI recipient in particular, income, in quotes, can sometimes include gifts from friends and family. So for example, if they're helping you pay for rent or something like that, that can sometimes count as a resource. It can count as income. So that's the income bucket. And then there's the assets bucket, which is money that you have on hand, right? So it doesn't matter how much money is coming in. Assets is how much money you hold at any given time. So generally that's money that you have, that's either cash or more likely money you have in a bank account, for example, money you have on hand. So it's important to remember that distinction. So CalABLE protects assets. So any money, any cash assets you have, CalABLE can help protect that. Again, up to $100,000 if you're an SSI recipient. And while CalABLE doesn't protect income from a job, so income from a job that could still count for your benefit eligibility. However, gifts from friends and family are protected. They're explicitly protected So they do not count as income for either for tax purposes or more importantly for benefits purposes like SSI. So while we can't do too much about income, for gifts specifically, CalABLE can help. And then again, folks have questions, you can ask us in the chat. Um, and then just a quick bit of info, not to get too much detail, but some info about benefits programs. Social Security Disability Insurance, SSDI. There's no asset limit to keep in mind, so you don't have to worry about it. For Medi-Cal, this is new. As of this year, there's an asset limit of $130,000. There's a bit more information on the website. You can see the link here. We'll post it in the chat too. But you can get a bit more info on how Medi-Cal works with what their standard asset limit is. But again, we are exempt. So if you have more than $130,000, that's okay. Just put it in a CalABLE account. HUD Section 8, again, CalABLE is excluded, so you don't have to worry about that. And CalFresh, also called SNAP or food stamps, CalABLE is exempt. It's another great opportunity. So again, we are exempt from in one way or another. We have some sort of exemption from all states, federal, and local benefits programs. So you can talk to the program, your benefits providers for a bit more detail. They should be aware of us. If you ever have any questions, you can always reach out to us. But these programs, they do know about CalABLE, and they can tell you what does and doesn't apply in their cases. Okay. Well, what happens when the account holder passes away? We get asked this question a lot. A lot of CalABLE is thinking about estate planning and what happens when, and that's both for someone supporting someone else, but then also for the beneficiary themselves. So some things to keep in mind. CalABLE can still offer protections even after the death of the person with the disability. The first thing to keep in mind is that any outstanding expenses, as long as they're eligible expenses, you can still pay it from a CalABLE account. So for example, if they had an outstanding bill, that can still be paid. Funeral and burial costs, that's explicitly in law that it can be used for funeral and burial costs. So that's appropriate too. What you'll want to keep in mind is the person, whoever's supporting them, the executor, the minister of the state, whoever the most appropriate person is, they do need to reach out to us to let us know and provide proof of death so that we can give them access to do what they need to do. So there's a bit more detail, and there's a form. You can see the link here. But that's not in a nutshell, that's how it works. We do recommend that person talk to tax and legal advisors. Hopefully they're already getting that as part of the estate process. Because you just want to think about what the impacts of those are. So one other thing to keep in mind is Medi-Cal estate recovery. So for those who don't know, at the time of death, often, not in all cases, but often Medi-Cal collects from the estate of a Medi-Cal beneficiary. However, by law, CalABLE is exempt in almost all cases, meaning if there's money left in the account, in almost all cases, Medi-Cal would not collect from a CalABLE account. So there's one very narrow circumstance, unfortunately it doesn't exist, but there's one circumstance where they would collect, and that's what you see on the screen here. If all of these apply, not just one, but all four, if the person was 55 years or older, and obviously a Medi-Cal recipient, if they have more money in their account than the formal probate threshold, which is $208,850 as of now, if they received specific types of services, so nursing, skilled nursing facility or home and community-based services, and if they have no surviving spouse, no domestic partner, no child under 21, and no child with a disability, if all four of those apply, then Medi-Cal may collect against that person's estate. So it's a lot of ifs right there. The vast majority of people don't, at least one, if not all four, don't apply to them. So that can be huge. Medi-Cal or state recovery can, at least on paper, be millions of dollars in many cases. And generally, people don't have that much money in their state, so it can wipe out an entire state. But again, we're exempt in almost all cases. Okay, and then successor designated beneficiaries. We get asked this question a lot. What happens to the money after all that? So now you want to be able to give the money to someone else. What can happen? So we do have one scenario, successor designated beneficiary. If there is a sibling, a step sibling, or half sibling of the account holder who also can have a CalABLE account, the money can be transferred to them. They just have to be identified prior to the death of the beneficiary. Unfortunately, it's very limiting. It's just for siblings, step siblings, half siblings, but it is an option to keep in mind. So we do have a form for how to submit that. Now, if there is no eligible person, the money simply becomes part of their estate. It'll be paid out to whoever it would be paid out in accordance with their will, their probate, whatever it might be, just like with any other money or property they might have. So at that point, it gets to be part of the regular inheritance will process. Okay, so with that, a couple of updates for this year. Um, and I'll try to be quick about this, and then we'll hand it over to Daniel. So some quick updates. One is, again, eligibility expanded. Now, if you have a disability that began before age 46, you can have an account. I mentioned before about College 529 Savings Plan rollovers. That did expire initially at the end of last year, but that was extended, so it is now permanently available, as is the Able to Work and the federal saver credit option. So all of those are now permanently available. Um, and then we've also been able to reduce fees. We were able to reduce our fees last year by a small amount. We're hoping to continue to work on how we can keep cutting fees down as we go along. And then a few more updates for us for this year. Um, uh, so some new features for the program. We have a mobile app for those who don't know, and we released this last year. There's a couple of QR codes on the screen, or you can just look for CalABLE in the App Store. There's a mobile app. It is so much more easier and convenient and everything compared to logging in on your phone or computer. Please go download it. And also please review us. That helps other people find it too. We'd appreciate it. Um, Daniel's going to go over this in a bit, but you can now add authorized users. And he'll also mention that we have we have language translations. We have 20 different languages available. So he'll show you that in a bit. And then last thing, we do have chat functionality on our website. If you click on the big green help chat button, you can ask some questions and we'll give you good answers. So that's a way to be able to get some info and do it a little bit easier than having to go through the big long process of looking up yourself or calling or whatever it might be. Okay. And then how do you open an account? Daniel's going to go into a lot more detail than me, so I'm only going to very briefly touch on this. So um, you can open an account for yourself or on someone's behalf. And again, Daniel will show you what that looks like. And then who can open an account? So if we go to the next slide on the authorized representative, um, who can open an account for someone? Who can manage someone's account? That's what you see on the screen here. Guardian, conservator, a spouse, parent, sibling, grandparent. Quite a few people can open an account on someone's behalf. You just want to keep in mind that it always belongs to the person with the disability. But someone can help them. And when you do that, Daniel will show you what that looks like in a bit, but you're basically just certifying that, yeah, I'm the appropriate person for in this scenario. And you go from there. And then information you need for enrollment. Actually, Daniel's going to go through this, so I won't get into this. Daniel will tell you what you need to know. But I do want to show you what the website looks like before Daniel takes you through how to actually sign up. This is a screenshot of the website here. It's calable.ca.gov. We have a big gold button for open an account, and you'll want to go there. So with that, why don't we bring in Daniel? So Daniel's a special guest speaker. He is from Vestwell. Vestwell is our banking partner, and they're great. They're the ones who help us manage the program and help run people's accounts and all that great stuff. So Daniel, welcome aboard.
Thanks, Thomas. Happy to be here. We're we're going to jump right in to information to begin enrollment. As Thomas mentioned on the previous slides, an account can be opened by an individual who qualifies or someone who's supporting them. So if you are an authorized legal representative, so a parent, a guardian, a conservator, you can go through this process to open an account for the person you support. There was a question that came up in the chat from Stacy Avila, who is considering opening an account for her son. Stacy, you absolutely can. You can go through this process by going to the calable.ca.gov website. If we can move to the next slide. So before you begin this process, if you are an individual, so you're opening an account for yourself, you want to make sure you have your email address, your phone number, your date of birth, social security number, or tax ID number available, and just any reference documentation that you need to look at that confirms your eligibility just for your records. And if you are an authorized legal representative, like in the case of Stacy, who's planning to do this for her son, same thing. You want to make sure you have your email address, you have your phone number, date of birth, social security number, or tax ID, and all the other information for the beneficiary, as well as documentation that verifies the relationship you have with the person you're opening the account for. Now, we don't ask for that documentation. You just keep it for your records. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to give you an overview of how this process works. Confirming everybody can see my screen.
Yes.
Perfect. The first step, again, to begin the enrollment process is making sure you go to calable.ca.gov. And as Thomas mentioned, there's a help chat, very helpful resource. Any questions you have in mind, you can ask in the chat, this help chat on the website, and you get a response to your question. Now, to begin the account opening process, you go to menu at the top right corner of your screen and you click open an account, and it's going to load up and bring you to a page with a lady on the left side and open a CalABLE account on the right side. So I'm going to begin this process by entering my email. Get started after I enter my email. And the next step is to create a password. Now, the password requirement is at least 10 characters long with a mix of letters, numbers, and special characters. I have some pre-saved passwords here that meet this requirement. So I'm going to go with that. You enter the password in the first box. You enter the password in the second box to confirm. If the password entered in the first or second box don't match, you're going to get an error. This does not match. It should be your password twin. Try again. So I'm just going to repaste what I had. And you want to select the boxes below. One, confirming that you have read or reviewed the program disclosure booklet. You're not required to, but we advise that you do. You want to get a good understanding of the program before you open your account. Same thing for the general terms and use of Vestwell and overall online privacy policy. Once both boxes have been checked, you're going to select next. Give it a few seconds. If you use a browser like mine, Google Chrome, you should see a pop-up at the top right corner requesting you to save this password. I'd recommend you do. That way, in the future, when you want to log in, this information automatically populates for you. Now, the next step after entering email is verifying your identity. Now, Vestwell, in partnership with CalABLE, has a very inclusive verification process. As we know, with the disabled community, very often people may not have information in publicly available databases, which makes their verification easy. But we've designed the verification process to make sure it's as inclusive as it should be for the process to be seamless for you, the account owner. So I'm going to go ahead and enter my social security number and hit next. Give it a few moments to load. And I'm going to get a pop-up. So this verification process is through a third party we use called Plaid. And it's automatically going to pull the information I'm entering. And in your case, you would be entering when you enter the information to automatically verify you. I'm going to enter my date of birth, month, day, and year, and hit continue. Wait for a few seconds. As soon as I get my passcode, I'm going to enter that information here. And the next step is to enter a full name, first and last name, hit continue. And my mailing address. One, two, three West Street. Sacramento. And I'm going to re-enter my social security number. And once all that information has been entered, you should get a pop-up that says your identity has been successfully verified, and you can click finish. We're going to check these boxes again, just a testing review of the program disclosure booklet and terms of use, and hit get started. Tell us about yourself. So this is where you choose your preference, either choose not to identify. In my case, I'm going to go with he and hit next. Now, tell us about the beneficiary. As I mentioned before, and Thomas mentioned as well, you can do this for yourself, or if you're a parent or an ALR, authorized legal representative, you could be opening for the account for someone that you support. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and open the account for myself. So are you the beneficiary? I'm going to select yes. And I'm going to select the mailing address, which I entered on the previous screen. And there's a box right here. So for those who have served in the military, you can either check this option. I'm going to leave it unchecked for the purpose of this test and hit next. Now, on step 4, we want to confirm eligibility. So which options apply? The beneficiary is either entitled to SSI, Social Security, Supplemental Security Income, or the beneficiary is entitled to SSDI, or the beneficiary has a physical or mental impairment that results in marked and severe functional limitation and therefore qualifies. Now, if you have to select this third option, you're prompted to fill out the physician's form, signed diagnosis form, which you can keep for your records. Again, we do not require you to provide any documentation as proof for your qualification to open an account. But for the purposes of this test, I'm going to select the first option. And what is your diagnosis? So this is where you get to select what your medical condition is. There are a total of 7 categories. And if you don't see your medical condition listed here, you can always select other. And this category was provided to us by the IRS. It's not something that we designed or decided. But again, if you don't see something that meets what you would be looking for, you can just select other. And is the disability permanent? Yes. When did the disability begin? Thomas touched on this as well. So prior to this year, the requirement was before 26. That has now been pushed to before 46. In this case, I'm going to select on or after 26th birthday, but before 46. And you want to attest to all three options here. One, that your disability began before the selected option above, that you have no other ABLE account, and that you expect a disability or blindness to last for the rest of your life. Once those options are selected, you're going to select next. And we'll give it a few moments here to load. And in a situation where any information on this page was missed, you wouldn't be able to move to the next step. So the next option, which I just clicked on, would be grayed out, and you wouldn't be able to click on. But since I entered all the information as required, we're being prompted to the next screen. It's just taking a little longer to load, so we'll give it some time. Let me try refreshing my screen. There we go. So the next step of the process is a communication process or communication preference. You want to decide how you want to receive communications about the program. You've already, in my case, I've already entered my mailing address. I'll confirm that again. But for plan documents, which include quarterly statements, which are issued every 3 months, so quarterly, as well as tax forms issued at the beginning of the year, you can either receive them by mail or you can receive an email notification letting you know they are available to download online. Regardless of what you select, let's say if you select mail, you will always be able to download these documents online. So I'm going to select paperless communications. Plan features and updates and promotions. We always recommend you select yes to this, to emails as well as text messages. That way you stay informed on anything happening within the program. You want to agree to the terms and select next. And on this screen, you're going to review all the information that you've entered. So beneficiary information, which is my information. If I was doing this for someone else, it would be my information and that person, my eligibility information, my communication preference, and create my account. Give it a few moments here to load and take us to the next step. And a good way to tell when the page is loading is you can see a red bar at the top. Now, let's finish setting up our account. 1, we're going to choose a funding method. 2, we're going to select our investment options. Thomas talked about what CalABLE offers, in total 8. And we're going to fund that investment option. Now, to add a bank account or to fund your account, you need to enter the bank account information. And you have a total of 4 options. 1, you can sign into your bank account electronically if you know your login, that's email and password. And this process is through our friends at Plaid. So once you select sign in, you would be prompted to enter your login information either for your credit union or your Bank of America, Chase, whatever the case is. Redirect it to your bank account to authorize the link, And once that's done, your bank account will be automatically added on this page for your CalABLE account. The other option, manually connect the bank account. So in this step, you would enter your name, select whether it's a checking account or a savings account. You enter the routing number, account number, and then you can give the account type a nickname, and finally upload a bank statement or a voided check, which we require in order to validate the information that was entered manually. And then there's a third option, which is mail a check. If you don't have a bank account and you need to open a CalABLE account, you do have the option to select mail a check. Let's say you had received a gift and you never cashed that check. You can simply mail in that check once your account has been established by selecting this option. And last here is add a promo code. So CalABLE always has promotions that are running for various campaigns. If you happen to have one of those codes, this is where you could enter them to begin that process. But for the purposes of this test today, I'm going to go ahead and enter this information manually. So enter my name, checking account, enter the routing number, my account number, and the bank account nickname, which is my Prepaid account. And I'm going to upload a bank statement and hit next. Give it a few moments here to load. And as you can see, the bank account has been added. I'm going to select next. Now choose your strategy and add money. So these are all the investment options CalABLE offers. You can either put your initial contribution in one, or you can spread it out. I'm going to go ahead and put $25 in all these options to begin my account, or most of them. Hit next. And you're also prompted to set up your recurring contribution. This is totally optional, but it's a great way to just set it and forget it. So for my account today, I'm going to go ahead and set up a recurring contribution for the first of the month. And on the first of the month, I want $500 to go into the balanced portfolio. This could be great if you are, either employed or expect a recurring source of money coming into your account to help you stay below that $2,000 threshold. We're going to do review once all the information we need on this screen has been entered. Again, you're prompted to review the information you entered, your bank account information, your investment selection, and your recurring monthly contribution. If you need to change anything, you can always do so by clicking the blue pencil for bank account, investment selection, or the recurring contribution. Everything looks good to me, so I'll go ahead and hit Finish Account. Give it a few moments here. And you're all set. Take a look at your account. So this is what your CalABLE account would look like. And as you can see, the first thing that comes up is the gifting page. Your account automatically comes with a gifting page. It's a great way to engage your community, whether it's friends, family, and help you attain your financial goals. I know Thomas shared the story of Hector, who has shared his gifting page with his friends on social media, was able to save enough to put down for a mobile home. Once you open your account, you can do so as well. You have the option to share your gifting page either by copying the link. Let's try this again. Copy the link and you can send it via email, you can send it via text, or post it on social media. And I want to give you all just a quick idea of what the gifting page actually looks like for someone who's making a contribution. So for someone who is gifting into your account, for someone gifting into my account, this is what it would look like. You know, they can put $500, they can make it reoccurring. And, you know, for friends and family who want to do this on a reoccurring basis, you know, they can do it and create their profile, set it and forget it. So something they don't have to think about every single time. Back to the overview. Another thing I know we talked about is the prepaid card. To request a prepaid card, you can do so directly from your CalABLE dashboard. So you would hit sign up with TrueLink. TrueLink is the third party we work with, or CalABLE works with, to issue these cards. It's completely optional, but comes with some amazing benefits. So if you open an account, we recommend you request a prepaid card. And Vivi, if I could stop sharing on my end and we go into the slide deck. We can fast forward and go to prepaid card for flexible spending. Perfect. So again, for beneficiaries and account owners who want greater independence, you know, with guardrails, the optional CalABLE prepaid card issued by TrueLink, again, can be requested directly from the platform. As I mentioned, it gives you the ability to set spending controls, upload receipts, monitor activity, all while empowering, you know, day-to-day spending. A card can be issued for the beneficiary, or can be issued for the beneficiary with an authorized individual's name on it. If it's a situation where an organization is managing accounts, that's also an option where they can have the card issued in the organization's name to support the individual that they help on a day-to-day basis. So this is a tool that really encourages financial independence, also financial literacy, but also ease of use. As Thomas mentioned, you can withdraw cash once you enable your card. So once you get it in the mail after it's been requested, which is usually after 7 days. So once you request it on the portal, you should receive it in the mail within 7 business days. As soon as you activate it, you're able to go to over 55,000 in-network all-point ATMs with no fee, where you can use their ATM to get cash. So Target, a CVS, Walgreens, Kroger, Circle K, and Chevron are places where you would find these in-network ATMs. It's important to note, out-of-network ATMs have a $1.50 fee. There is a cash withdrawal limit of $500 per day and $3,000 per month. You can also set custom limits on the card as you see fit. Moving on, I talked about the gifting platform, you know, with the personal gifting page, which you can share with friends and family. Again, loved ones can create a gifting profile to make quick contributions. It's really a great way to engage your community, allowing you to have an engaged financial journey. You know, it's not just you, but really relying on the support of those around you to reach your goals. Moving on to payroll and Social Security direct deposit. So the payroll and Social Security direct deposit option is another great way to maximize your CalABLE account. So for account owners who are employed, this is a very easy way to directly receive money from your employer. You can set up payroll direct deposit by logging into your account. Once you log into your account, you want to click on the direct deposit option and select payroll. After entering all the required information, you'll see a version of what I'm showing you on the screen right now, which provides you with routing number, a bank account number, and the account type. This is information you can either update in your employer's payroll system if you as an individual employee have access to, or you can provide to your human resources department to update for you with the amount you want to receive into your CalABLE account on a bi-weekly or a monthly basis, depending on how you get paid. Same goes for Social Security direct deposit. If you receive SSI or SSDI, you can have your benefits directly deposit into your ABLE account. Same process. You would start by clicking on direct deposit on the dashboard I just shared for your CalABLE account. And once you do so, you'll be prompted to provide the same information, which you would have done for payroll direct deposit. And once that's done, you see a very similar screen like what's being shared on the screen today, routing number, check-in account, account number. That information, you can then go into your Social Security profile to update to receive those direct deposits. Or you could go to a Social Security office in your local area, and they'll be able to support you with that. Next is our multi-access option. I know we talked about language and CalABLE now offering over 20 languages on the portal. I didn't get a chance to show you that option in the enrollment flow, but at the bottom of the page, when you're either in your account or beginning the enrollment flow, you have the option to select from 20 languages. This is CalABLE's way of making sure the overall process is inclusive and accessible. And when we talk about accessibility, it's not just about languages, it's also about support. And we know many ABLE account owners don't manage their accounts alone, which is why we built this feature. The authorized user feature allows you, the account owner, to add trusted individuals like family members or financial advisors to really support you in managing your account, or just have visibility in managing and how you manage your account. You can choose from 3 options, so viewer, contributor, and manager roles, each which give you, the account owner, the ability to give them very unique permissions to support you the way you want in managing your account. The last really cool feature we wanted to talk about is the Savings Booster. So the Savings Booster, specifically here, the Weather Booster, is an option that's intended to make saving one less thing you have to think of and also engage in, right? So if there is precipitation forecasted to be higher than 50% in your selected zip code, you can set as little as $1 contribution from your bank account into your CalABLE account. So every time it's forecasted to rain over 50%, $1 is going to come from your Wells Fargo bank account into your CalABLE account. This feature is very simple, and you can turn it on and off as you need. But as we know, when saving for a rainy day, every single dollar counts, and this feature on your CalABLE account is just designed to help you prepare for those moments. That was the last item we wanted to showcase for you. I'll turn it over to Thomas.
Okay, thank you. Now we've had so many questions in the chat. We're doing our best to keep up with it. We've answered 190, it looks like. So we're trying our best to get through as many as we can, but I know we're gonna have to wrap up, so we won't have time to do Q&A verbally. But a couple more things I want to say before I wrap up. So question number 9, why would you have a CalABLE account? Hopefully anyone else can answer this question. Hopefully you've heard enough great things that we do, but just very quickly, we help people plan for the future. That's the goal. This program it's personal finance on the surface, but it's really about independence. It's about supporting you, your families, everyone else. It's about supporting people with disabilities. That's the goal. We protect people's eligibility for benefits. We protect eligibility from benefit recovery, from Medi-Cal state recovery in many cases. We allow people to be able to support each other, for example, through gifting, like Daniel had mentioned. Um, we have great savings options. You can grow your money tax-free. And you can spend it when and how you need to. As long as you're using for eligible expenses, go do what you need to do. And this is a community. We are CalABLE. This is the CalABLE community. We're here to help each other and provide more information to each other. So how can you help? Um, well, tell everyone about this. If you hear about CalABLE, or if having heard about CalABLE, if you know someone who might be eligible, please let them know about CalABLE. You can also give us a call at our call center here, 833-CalABLE. There's a QR code to sign up for emails and newsletters, that sort of thing. And a couple quick things, because I know we got to wrap up. We do have some links, and these slides are available on our website, but if you go to the next slide, so we do have some links to resources. So YouTube channel, for example, there's a link to our YouTube channel in the chat. I'll get more info. More info is available there. And then last few reminders. So if we go forward a couple of slides. So our next webinar is specifically going to be about taxes, tax time with CalABLE. So that's going to be February 26th. Please join for that. It'll be a little more targeted. And then really quick, you will get a post-webinar survey. So please fill it out. It's anonymous. Please tell us how we did, but also if there's anything we missed, I know there's questions in there, still getting questions. We're not gonna be able to get to all of them, but any questions we missed, you can put it in the survey and we'll do our best to get back to you as well. And then last thing I'll say is our mandatory disclosures, something you'll always want to keep in mind. Any investment option carries risk, whether it's CalABLE, whether it's anything else. So that's something you'll want to keep in mind. But another thing you want to keep in mind is we do have the FDIC insured portfolio option, which is, and if you go to the next slide, that is insured up to $250,000. So if you're, that is one option to think about to help manage the risk as well. But that's all we got. Now we're past time, so we won't be able to do verbal Q&A, but I hope we gave a lot of info to folks. Thank you so much for joining. This was a huge turnout, a huge number of questions. Again, if you have any additional questions, you can answer that survey, drop the questions in there. But really appreciate you guys joining us, and hope you guys open accounts and hope you tell everyone about us as well. And with that, thank you very much. Have a good day.